Next story here. JD Vance says the U.S. has, quote, far more cards than China. This going back to the news that we got there on Friday. Vice President JD Vance asserted that the U.S. holds a stronger position than China in the ongoing trade tensions, expressing optimism that Beijing will opt for a reasonable approach. Vance, in an interview with Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures on Fox News, addressed the escalating trade tensions between the U.S. and China. Quote, what the United States has is we have a lot of leverage, and my hope, and I know the president's hope, is that we don't have to use that leverage, end quote. Vance acknowledged the need for careful handling of the situation, stating, quote, it's going to be a delicate dance, and a lot is going to depend on how the Chinese respond, end quote. He also highlighted the strong relationship between Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping, expressing hope that China would not initiate a trade war and act with a chosen path of reason. Quote, if they respond in a highly aggressive manner, I guarantee you the president of the United States has far more cards than the People's Republic of China, end quote. And that is exactly the case that we've seen. We talked a little bit about this on Friday. We talked a lot about the looming debt crisis that China has here. So clearly they're playing a game here. The whole tariff back and forth. By now we have plenty of information to know that this is absolutely a negotiating tactic, and we're getting this back and forth. We'll see how it shakes out. Vance seems pretty confident here, and I'm not surprised to see that at all. His remark followed President Trump's threat on Friday to impose a 100% tariff on Chinese goods and restrict the export of critical software in response to Beijing's control over rare earth mineral exports. By the way, as an aside from all of the bickering with China and the U.S., how about USAR? We've talked a lot about some of these critical mineral stocks. USAR, MP have been massive winners. We also talked about CRML last week. All of those trading higher here. USAR on the back of this news, almost 10 points higher at the high from where it is. That ended up being a really good short-term trade, probably has some more long-term legs as well. The U.S. stock futures rallied on Sunday night following President Trump's decision to walk back on his latest tariff escalation with China. This came after a spokesperson for the Chinese Ministry of Commerce stated that, well, China does not want a trade war. It's not afraid of one. However, the initial tariff threat had a significant impact on the U.S. equity markets, with three major indexes ending Friday in the red. This was seen as a sign that Trump's massive tariff hike, threat against China is hurting the U.S. more. Now, here today, with a little bit more information, we see that that's not the case. However, Trump's history of making threats and then retracting them, especially as it plays for China, regarding tariffs, has led to skepticism among economists. This was evident in a post by Peter Schiff on X, where he referred to Trump's behavior as taco. So we decided we were going to name the show this morning Tacos for Breakfast. We often talk about food here on the show anyway, despite it being entirely too early to really eat food here in the morning. But hopefully y'all like some breakfast tacos, because that's what we're going at here today. However, Trump's history of making wrong paragraph. The S&P 500 futures are up 1.35%. That's actually backed off a little here. S&P futures up 1.16%, and the NASDAQ futures actually up 1.76%. So both of these a little bit higher than when we first signed on. Like I said, I really want to see what happens here this morning when we get the volume flow from the open. I want to see what the regular session does here today to the market. I'm expecting some pretty volatile moves in both directions, to be quite honest with you. I actually wouldn't be surprised if we pulled a little bit out of the open and then rallied, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll play whatever hand the market deals us here today.